What's up YouTube? For tonight's video, we have a full transforming Pokemon team. Basically, this team is all the Pokemon that know transform, and there's only 3 of them, so it's quite tricky. Alright, this one is for Patreon, for Joey. Thank you for being a patron on this video, and the theme is for you. If you want to become a Patreon, that's in the description of the video. Alright, so basically there's only 3 Pokemon, Mew, Smeargle, and Ditto that can transform. So to make up the team of 6, I had just 2 of them on my team. Right, so we got 2 battles in this one. Sorry, didn't upload the other day. I'm feeling really tired, so got it up today. That's the main thing. Let's get right into this one. Leave those theme team suggestions in the comment section. Let's do this. Alright, so we have a Lilligant lead. Now, this Ditto is actually an imposter, and it didn't change. So bells are sort of like ringing there because I knew they actually had a Zoroark in their team. So obviously that gave away that was the Zoroark. Okay, so Rotom's going to come in here. I'm able to get the transform off, transform into the Rotom and go for the Shadow Ball here. That's going to take out the opposing Rotom there, and it's going to give me a good start. Okay, these battles on my Pimp chat. If you want to battle me, head over there. This one is against Seaweed on my chat. Alright, so we have the Lilligant coming in again, going for the Shadow Ball here again. Now, on this Ditto, I had I think this was a choice. This was either the choice. No, this was the Focus Band Ditto. This was a real troll Focus Band Ditto. Alright, so we have the Zoroark revealed there. It's going to take me out with the Dark Pulse. I was kind of hoping the Focus Band activated, but I'm not hoping anything because the other day I did get 3 in a row, so I wasn't really expecting much there. Alright, so bringing in my second Ditto there, I'm going to change into the Zoroark. Now, obviously, it changed into the Zoroark this time because the Zoroark wasn't disguised. Okay, Zoroark is going to swap out there. In comes the Incineroar. Now, on the Zoroark, it was a mix set. I think it had U-Turn, Dark Pulse. I think it had Nasty Pot on it too. But basically, all my Pokemon only had Transform. So that was the whole challenge to it. It made it a very, very difficult team to use, but very fun. Okay, so going for the Transform on my Smeargle there. Now, this was actually a Choice Specs Smeargle, so I gave it the Transform, and then I transformed into it, and now I can use the Choice Specs Focus Blast. Okay, so Comfy's going to come in here. I'm going to go for the Focus Miss, which actually lands this time, and it doesn't do very much damage at all, obviously, there. But I do, however, get a Special Defense drop. So I thought it wouldn't be too bad just to stay in here, see what this thing is going to do. It turns out to be a physical set there. It does a crap load of damage to me. It's also got the Life Orb there, too. So I'm thinking with the physical set, it won't be as bulky as usual, as, you know, the normal, like, your standard, like, Calm Mind triage set. Now I get a critical hit there. I wasn't sure if it had any sort of healing or if it's just like full out physical set, but however it's going to be able to heal itself there, which sucks. So there's not real much point staying to this one. I'm not going to be able to win this matchup. Okay, so the Focus Miss misses, which is never saw that one coming. So going to swap out the Ditto and maybe use that one for later on. Okay, so swapping in Mew this time. Now, obviously, all these Pokemon, what I ran is just max health on them. That's the only thing I needed because the health is the only thing that like gets transformed over there. So I can have bulky variants of the Pokemon or not so bulky. That's kind of how it worked out sometimes. Alright, so we have the Sigilyph coming out here. Now, I actually seen this Sigilyph from a previous battle, so I know it's going to be a really crazy set. This was a physical Sigilyph. It had Smackdown, it had Fly, it had Steel Wing, and I can't remember what the other move was. Anyway, so going for the Smackdown there, does a fair chunk of damage there to the Zoroark, which I already knew was that because I already take previous damage there from there before. Now, the Zoroark is going to get out speed here, going for the Steel Wing, just misses the kill there. Now it's going to go for the Fling, and it's going to fling the Light Ball at me, which is going to paralyze me and be super effective. So that's going to paralyze and obviously going to be able to attack me with Dark Pulse the turn afterwards. The problem with this team, right, it wasn't kind of like... The Dittos were good because I could instantly transform into them, but with the 2 Smeargles and the 2 Mews, I had to physically use Transform. So I had to take a hit, then use Transform, which made this team very difficult there. Okay, so anyway, Zoroark is going to U-turn and take out the Sigilyph there. The Focus Band actually kicked in, but I got paralyzed there, so that was a bit salty. It would have been really funny if I was able to get that attack off. Anyway, so the Incineroar is going to come back in. I was thinking, well, I could swap in Ditto again, go for the Focus Blast. Maybe See what's going to come into this one. I was half expecting the Comfy to come in, but I thought, no, let's just go for Focus Blast again on the Incineroar. So I've got Choice Scarf on this Ditto. It's a good item on Ditto, really. But I didn't want to put Choice Scarf on like a lot of the other ones. I wanted to mix up the items. Okay, so obviously I outspeed there. It lands, and that's the opposing Incineroar down. Now we have the Sigilyph coming here. Since I'm locked into Focus Blast, I have to swap out here. So I thought I could swap in my other Smeargle or the one that I already had previously used. So I've swapped that one in. It's going to go for the Z move here. However, it was the Z mirror move. So since I swapped, the Z move is actually going to fail. However, it did get a boost in attack though, I guess. So that wasn't too good, but I saved Smeargle for at least one term. So I'm going to get outspeed here, and I'm going to go down to the Smackdown. That +1 was just enough to actually take my Smeargle out there. Okay, so bringing in Ditto 1 again, because I know I got the Choice Scarf, I can transform and get that boost and go for the Smackdown myself. Since we're both flying type Pokemon, it'll take us down to the ground as well. So going for the Smackdown here, super effective, does well over half health, but still a 2-hit KO. Okay, so we're both going to use Smackdown against each other. We both take it around the same there. I think I took a little bit more damage. Okay, so here. Obviously, Sigilyph has a little bit more health than the Ditto that I swapped in. So the opposing Sigilyph is going to swap out, and the Lilligant is going to swap in here. This is quite confusing. As you can admit, this is quite confusing narrating this too, because Pokemon are transforming left, right, and center, and there's a Zoroark too, so it's very trolly. Okay, so swapping in my other Mew this time. Now, I knew this thing would go for a Quiver Dance or a Petal Dance or one of those type moves. It's very hard there against my Mew. Now, I got a Wiki Berry on this Mew, so I was hoping I could live this one, get the transform off. However, I think the first one I got, I was thinking it was a min or max damage. However, the item on Lilligant was Metronome, so that made sense. Okay, so we have the Ditto swapping here again. Here I can either go for the Giga Drain or the Petal Dance. I decided to go for the Giga Drain because I really did need the health back. Now, the Ancient Burp is going to come in here, going for the Giga Drain here again there. It's not very effective, however, it's going to give me a little bit of health there, which I kind of wanted. And obviously, guys, just remembering, when I do transform, I'm only getting 5 PP of every move there, so that made things rather hard too. Now, also, I did actually get a Ditto Sweep. If you want me to put up a Ditto Sweep tomorrow or whatever, I can do that. Leave a thing in the comment section. It's actually been a while since I've done a Ditto Sweep. It was rather interesting. If you do want to see that one, let me know. Okay, so we have the opposing Lilligant coming here, but I already knew that it was going to be the Zoroark. So this Choice Scarf did actually help me out in the latter end of this game because I was able to outspeed a lot of these Pokemon. So Zoroark is going to go down there. So the only Pokemon left is the Comfy and the Lilligant. I've got the Ditto left and my other Smeargle. Okay, so here I can go for I can either go for the Giga Drain again, or I can swap out. I decided to stay in and use it. Now, Comfy is going to heal up there. It's going to be full health again. Since this obviously isn't a bulky Comfy as usual, does just over half health, which is really nice damage there. So I'm getting a lot of my health back there too. This thing can either do... I know that it has U-turn. I can either decide to attack me or not. Giga Drain misses again, unfortunately, but once again, I do get a lot of my health back. The Comfy is going to go for the U-turn here. Now, it actually is in range for taking itself out there with the Life Orb. U-turn does a big chunk to me. And that's the Comfy down, which is good. The last Pokemon is the Lilligant, which I already have on the field at the moment. I'm locked into Giga Drain. However, I knew that I wouldn't be able to actually take it out at this point with that much health. So I swapped out my Ditto and swapped in I think this was a Choice Band Smeargle here on this one. So I kind of mixed up the items depending on what Pokemon I'd be transforming into. Obviously, if I gave them all like Choice Scarf, that wouldn't work properly. Okay, so swapping in Smeargle, I got one shot of there. There was no real point staying into that one. Swapping back in the Ditto here, so I've refreshed all my PP. Now I can go for the Petal Dance and just hope I can get a crit on this one or do some really solid damage. Going for the Petal Dance, I outspeed and I get the crit there. I'm pretty sure that crit mattered there, and a very close game there. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Let's get on to the second battle there. Okay, this one's against Katie on my chat, using the same team as I did last time. This was a very interesting battle. So we have a Chandelure lead. So swapping in my Ditto. This was the Choice Scarf Ditto, I believe. Now, this Chandelure was a physical Chandelure, so had some quite interesting moves. Now, it had Astonish for its Ghost Stab. It had Flame Charge to for stab as well and to boost it. So I went for their Astonish myself, so I hope I get a Scumbag Flinch there, but I didn't. Now I'm going to get Astonish myself, and that does quite a lot of damage, being a critical hit. Okay. So going to go for the Astonish again. You probably won't hear someone say I'm going to go for Astonish very much in Wi-Fi battles, but then again, it's me. So what do you expect? So we have the Flame Charge going to hit me there. It obviously doesn't have the Flash Fire there, so it's going to boost its speed, and it's going to actually be able to outspeed me. So swapping out the Chandelure there, or the Ditto, swapping in my Smeagol itself, expecting the Astonish, which it does, so I can avoid that one. Now here I can actually go for the Transform. It's got Giga Impact as well, just misses the kill there. So a very interesting physical Chandelure set. Very nice to see some original sets happening. Okay, so now we're both Chandelure again. The other Chandelure has to actually recharge, so I'm going to spin around and Astonish that Chandelure and take an early lead there. So that was pretty fun. I did like that set. That was cool. Okay, so we have the Golos Pod coming here. So I wasn't sure whether this is going to be like a special Golos Pod or a normal one. It's going to be a normal one that's going to be enough to take me out there with the Acrojet. So that's my Smeagol down. Okay, so here I could bring in my next Smeagol and see what it has. This was a choice banded one, so I thought this would be a good swap in. Okay, so I'm going to transform into the opposing Golospod, so we're both Golospod this time. Now I'm going to get hit by the Liquidation here, and that's going to do not too much to me there. Okay, so I had Leech Life, Aquajet, Liquidation on this set. Now I'm going to get outsped here, and that's going to take me below the emergency exit, and that's going to swap me out. So I was like, that's annoying. Anyway, so I thought, well, I might be able to use that a little bit later on. So swapping in Ditto now, well, forced to swap in Ditto, I'm going to transform automatically into the opposing Golospod again. Here I can go for the Leech Life, or I could go for Liquidation. Sorry, I almost messed that one up. Okay, so I decided to go for the Leech Life to get some health back there. Hits really hard on Roserade, almost takes it out there. I get a lot of health back, which is nice there. So I knew that I had to go for Leech Life again to take this thing out. However, it's going to go for the Sludge Bomb, and it's going to take me about for the emergency exit again, so I get freaking trolled there and swapped out of the battle. Okay, so Mew gets swapped in this time. This was the Wikiberry Mew, and now I needed to transform into Roserade, so I'm going to transform into that, so we're both Roserade now, I'm both shiny Roserade. Now I'm going to get hit by the Sludge Bomb. Roserade has fairly decent special defense there, and I know that I've got more health in it because I'm bulkier. Now it's going to go for the Weather Ball, which is interesting. I noted there was a Pokemon on her team that could definitely use the Weather Ball, but it hadn't been shown yet. Okay, so I went for the Sludge Bomb there, and that's going to be enough to take out the opposing Roserade. So we have the Noivern coming out here. This part was really, really painful. Okay, so swapping out Mew here. I'm going to swap in my other Mew. So this was, I'm trying to remember. I put Focus Band on 2 of the Pokemon because I thought it was a really trolly item to use. Okay, so it's a physical Noivern. Now it's got, on this set it had Tailwind, it had Wing Attack, it had Roost, and it had Outrage, so it's quite a interesting set. So transforming into my Noivern here. So I'm going to lose the Speed Tie there. So obviously without a Choice Scarf, you're constantly battling Speed Ties. That was the point of this one. So I'm going for my own Outrage there. Does lots of damage there, so this was the one where I needed to actually outspeed. However, I didn't. The opposing Noivern is going to be able to take my Mew out there, and that's ripped to my Mew there. Okay. I actually had a similar Noivern set. It was a Home Claws boosting set. It was pretty fun to use too. Okay, so I've got my Mew here now. I do have Wikiberry on this. I knew you'd be able to take this one because Mew is reasonably bulky there, and I wouldn't have already outsped and transformed it. Okay, so I get my Wikiberry boost there, and now I'm able to transform. I've also got the Confusion on the opposing Noivern too. However, it's going to eat a Lumberry and get rid of its Confusion there. So I was like, damn, this sucks. Okay, so now we're both Noivern again. So here I was thinking, well, I could go for Outrage. I could set up that, the Tailwind. Decided to go for Wing Attack, but it does nothing. So now the Noivern is going to go for the Outrage again. I didn't really want to go for Outrage and lock myself into it. But however, that did cost me the game because I did get outsped again and losing the Speed Tie and everything. So my second Mew is going to go down. So this Noivern is like killing off my Mew transformations really quickly. So I really needed to get back into this battle. Okay, so swapping in Ditto 2, we're going to imposter straight away into the Noivern. Now, I knew that Outrage wouldn't actually one-shot me unless it was a crit. So I set up the Tailwind so I knew that I could outspeed it the next turn. Noivern is definitely going to go for another Outrage there, considering it's locked into it. So it does about 3/4 for me. Now it's actually confused. So here I was thinking, well, since I'm at this point, I might as well go for Roost, see if I can get a confusion, then finish it off the next turn so I could have full health and try and get back into this game. So the Noivern is actually going to hit itself in confusion there, which is really good because I can finish it off with a wing attack the next turn, and that's going to be cool. The best thing that I liked about this team was, especially versus like really creative teams, I was able to use their sets to... It kind of... I was using Everard's sets against them. That was the whole point of this team. Okay, so we have the Abomasnow coming here. Like I said earlier on, that Roserade probably worked along with the Abomasnow to use Weather Ball, which is pretty cool, actually. You have the Ice one. Alright, so going for the... Actually was meant to go for the wing attack there. I really messed up there and went for the Outrage. Best misclick ever. However, the Abomasnow is going to go for the Leech Seed there. Probably... I'm not sure. I was expecting maybe an Ice-type move there to finish me off. Anyway, so it's going to have Leech Seed there, which is going to get a lot of health back. And it's going to be able to tank another Outrage really, really easily. So I was expecting maybe a Blizzard or an Ice Shard there, so it's going to tank the next Outrage there. I'm going to get confused, which is cool. Now it's going to go for the Double Edge there, so that's going to do a fairly decent chunk of damage to me there. It's going to hit itself in recoil, and it's also going to get some life back from the Leech Seed there. I'm going to take a little bit of damage from the Hail there and the Leech Seed too there. Okay, so I really need to take this thing out with the next Outrage. However, it's going to use Ice Shard and finish me off there. And that's my Ditto number 2 down. So I only had my Smeagol and my first Ditto left. So swapping in Ditto 1 here, I needed to transform into the Abomasnow. So I've got the Imposter here. Now, this had Double Edge, it had Wood Hammer, it had Ice Shard, and Leech Seed. So I went for the Wood Hammer there because I wanted to lock myself into it. This was the... I think this was the Focus Band Ditto. I can't remember. Anyway, so I went for the Wood Hammer, that takes it out. So we have the Absol coming in here. I knew this thing actually carried Sucker Punch because it basically always does. And I thought I could actually outspeed it. No, this was the Scarf there, sorry. So I outspeed the Absol with the Scarfed Wood Hammer. I just missed the kill there, and my Ditto is actually going to faint itself there. Okay, so Absol's going to pop a berry there, and it's going to, it's going to get some health back, which sucked there. So I really wanted that kill. I was a bit salty about that. Anyway, so the last Pokemon is my, I think this is the Choice Spec Smeagol. Now, this is pretty funny. So I'm going to go for Transform here. So I'm going to transform into the Absol here. Now, Absol actually went for the Zen Headbutt here, which is funny because I was a Dark type, so I actually was immune to that. So I had Zen Headbutt, it had Play Rough, it had Sucker Punch. I'm trying to remember what the other move was. Anyway, so the Absol's going to go for the Sucker Punch there. I went for the Play Rough there, which was enough to take out the Absol there. Okay, so the last Pokemon left is the Golispod, and I'm locked into Play Rough. I knew that I wouldn't be able to take this one, even with like a critical hit. There was no way. And yeah, this one is a game there, so it basically does nothing to Golispod. It was a really fun battle, and that, especially that Noivern part, like I lost so many Pokemon there. That's just how it was, the speed ties and things like that. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. This is a really fun team to do, like copying the opposing opponent's Pokemon. It was really cool. Okay, peace out, guys.